On March 8, 2011, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder signed Public Acts 1 and 2 into law, putting the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program in state statute. Leading up to the bill signings, hearings in front of both House and Senate Ag committees were held, with the legislation receiving strong support with swift passage in both chambers. Senator Joe Hune chairs the Senate Ag Committee and sponsored the Senate version of the legislation.
First, I have to say it's great that we have a governor that acknowledges agriculture. We certainly haven't had that in the last 8 years. Not only does Governor Snyder acknowledge it, but embraced it, and he's doing everything he can to help foster the ag industry in Michigan. And Farm Bureau and myself and so many other legislators have worked in years past on MAEAP legislation to help, I guess, legitimize the program, bring it out of boilerplate, out of the budget legislation, out of administrative rule, put it into state statute, put it into law to make this program, I guess, last in perpetuity.
State Representative Kevin Daly, himself a farmer from Lapeer County, chairs the House Ag Committee and sponsored the House bill.
Well, you know, agriculture has been my life, my entire life, and it gets a little discouraging to me when farmers are criticized as not being good environmental stewards. And MAEAP is a program that provides good environmental, stewardship in our state. Puts our state up front from a lot of other states in the union. I am a farmer, and farmers as a whole are very well-respected people in communities. They're respected by everyone out there. City folks respect farmers in a way that's different than anybody else. So it's very important in a grassroots situation for these folks to come forward and support programs like this, like MAEAP.
So just what does it mean to have MAEAP codified into law? Along with keeping the program completely voluntary and properly funded, there are 3 key elements protecting farmers that become verified in the program.
The first one really gives an acknowledgement that if your farm is MAEAP verified, for those elements that the farm is verified under, if you have a discharge basically that comes from the farm operation, the Department of Environmental Quality is not going to go after you for civil fines and penalties. Only actual natural resource damages can be collected. So it creates a clear understanding of what the penalties that can be applied to your farm operation are. The next provision incentive that we look at within the legislation is this understanding that if your farm is MAEAP verified for all the applicable systems, you'd have some protection for total maximum daily loads, that your farm would be deemed as meeting practice standards. This is really important, probably more so in the future, in looking at what's happening at the Chesapeake Bay area, where the EPA is really tightening down on regulations and applying TMDL standards to a broader scope of farms than they have currently. And so this incentive really creates an atmosphere for Michigan that we're being proactive and we're putting in place a standard that you can meet those objectives voluntarily. The last item really looks at what we've deemed as an act of God weather event, an acknowledgement that agriculture works in an open environment. So, you know, we all know that we're different than other businesses, and basically that we work in an open atmosphere. If your farm is MAEAP verified and you've land applied nutrient to your farm field, and an unforeseen weather event shows up and takes that nutrient from your field, that would be considered a non-point source discharge, which is handled very differently from a regulatory standpoint. Again, fines and penalty, application, permit requirements, all would be impacted based on the new language in the law, and providing farmers that acknowledgement that even if you've done the best that you can with your management of your resources, there's certain elements out of your control, and the state will recognize your good faith effort.
Since MAEAP's inception in 1999, approximately 1,000 farms have been verified, with another 10,000 well on their way. The goal is for a 500% increase by 2015, which would represent 80% of the land base involved in production agriculture.
Up on the whiteboard is planning that we do here at Farm Bureau to be able to show different types of communication that we could have on the environmental assurance program so we can grow more meaning, more value for our farmers. And what that means is, to this point I've mentioned, we've had about 1,000 farmers begin the program. I'm going to represent that by this little line. The idea that the early adopters, the innovators, the farmers that are the first ones to say, I'll try something new, are in the program. The question becomes, how do you get to a point where we grow that to the point where all farmers become MAEAP verified. How do we meet the needs of most of the farmers of our state in achieving that standard? The legislation, the idea of creating legislative incentives, regulatory incentives, working through our insurance affiliate to give cost breaks for pollution prevention policies, working with other partners at the local level to recognize farmers that meet these standards. We think that is going to climb us up this chart to show that enough value to enough farmers that maybe we can start to grow up that curve. We believe that the rest of that curve is going to be met simply by peer pressure. The idea that if one farm becomes MAEAP verified and shows that there's enough value in it, other farmers, other neighbors will see that there's more value in becoming MAEAP verified. We see it as a tremendous standard and opportunity for the industry, and we think we can achieve it.
Annually, farmers working on MAEAP verification together spend more than $1.2 million on environmental improvements, upgrades, and other costs associated with becoming verified. Helping them along the way are MAEAP verifiers like Josh Appleby.
There's a whole long list of why people do what they do on their particular operation. I think the best message is it's the right thing to do. The MAEAP program offers environmental consulting and recognition and conversation and assistance in a confidential way to help you meet your environmental goals on your farm. We hope that's to be verified, but even if it isn't, to work with you to meet your goals. There shouldn't be things we're asking you to do as this MAEAP partnership that don't make fairly good business sense and that aren't protective of your business from a liability standpoint and looking towards the future of how we can be competitive and sustainable in agriculture here in Michigan.
One of the farms that Josh verified is Leduc Blueberries in Pawpaw. Started in 1955 with 100 plants on 17 acres, Joe Leduc and his wife Chantel oversee their now 500-acre operation, where their fruit is packed, processed, and shipped both nationally and internationally.
You know, I'm a second-generation farmer, and like most, we really do care about the environment. We care about long-term sustainability. We care about passing it on to the next generation, which means, you know, we don't want to harm the soil that we grow our food crops in. The second part of it is that customers are getting more and more interested in where their food comes from, how it's grown, the environment, how you treat your people. They like it all. They want to know it all. So we go through probably 7 audits a summer now, which probably 5 years ago we were lucky if we went through 1. MAEAP is the foundation of that. If you can go through a MAEAP program, and it's all volunteer, and it's all constructive, so it's non-confrontational. It's not a buyer telling you have to do anything. It really is the basis for all other audits, though. And to think that you're not going to have another audit in this modern day, you are going to have audits whether you're a 50-acre grower or a 500-acre grower.
Michigan Farm Bureau is one of several organizations that worked hard on getting MAEAP into law. They, as a group, are committed to MAEAP's purpose and success.
There's over 50 partners across the state in the agriculture and environmental sectors. Along with Michigan Farm Bureau, we have other supporters like the Michigan Pork Producers Association, Michigan Corn, Michigan Soybean, Michigan State University Extension, Michigan Cattlemen's Association. There's a whole list out there. Michigan farmers are very dedicated to their job, and they're very dedicated to protecting the environment. With the MAEAP program, you have an opportunity to showcase that you are being environmentally friendly on your farm. Michigan Farm Bureau encourages you to contact your local technicians to learn more about how to become MAEAP verified. There's lots of help out there, and Michigan Farm Bureau is right behind you.
Learn more about what it takes to get your farm MAEAP verified by logging on to MAEAP.org.